and welcome to Good Day Canton. I'm Trustee Tania Ganguly. During the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, or API Heritage Month, we would like to celebrate and learn about the contributions and experiences amongst our community, amongst the local members of our community. So here today we have some valuable members of our community to join this discussion about the API Heritage Month. I have with me Eva Davis, who is our Canton Library Director, and Chandru Acharya, who is the President of SAVI. Thank you and welcome to this conversation, and I really wanted to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Tanya. Thank you.
And why do you think it is important to celebrate the API Heritage Month during the month? We celebrate it during the month of May, but why do you think it is important to celebrate our culture during the API Heritage Month?
I think that in Canton in particular, we have so many residents who are Asian American and Pacific Islander that it helps bridge the gap with our neighbors so that we can understand where we have come from and where we are headed.
Yeah, if you look at the analogy of America as a salad bowl, it's very popular, and you know, each ingredient maintains its flavor and its texture. And wouldn't you want to know about each ingredient? So that's the whole exercise. You know, we live together, and we are a beautiful family of Americans, and so we would like to know more. And so the outreach is important, where you get to know who your neighbors are, and you know, if you look different, you know, the fear of unknown should not be there.
So what opportunities in our Canton Township do you think contributes to this vibrant multicultural experiences in our community?
Canton has been a very welcoming place, especially for immigrants, because as you know, a lot of IT professionals come from Asian countries, especially from India, and they make Michigan their home. So Michigan has been very welcoming, and Canton especially, because of the diversity. You have people, you know, welcomed everywhere. I've never faced any resistance. Whether it's the school district, the library, if you look at the public administration, there's a general sense that you belong. Generally in immigrant communities, there's a trust deficit with public authorities, and you know, and that is missing over here for the good. And I'm happy to say that, you know, the South Asian American Voices for Impact, the nonprofit that I work for, you know, has seen that this is one of the most vibrant areas where people like to come and live and raise their families.
I would agree. I think that the quality of life in Canton has been wonderful. I think that it is wonderful because it's intentional, because everyone across the township, and I say this as the library director, from, you know, our parks, facilities, our school district, the library, it is about recognizing the individual and their value that they bring to the community, and understanding that when we work together, we make our own community stronger overall. And that sense of openness and willingness to have conversations like this, I think contributes then to that feeling of belonging that Chandru was talking about.
Yeah, I think the library also makes a huge contribution to this experience, because when I first came in and I brought my family over here, my parents, they were very delighted to see so many different language books in the library, and they could enjoy the experience, so many different kind of magazines. And now we also have so many signage in different languages along the community, so that it really helps us, I think. And now, you know, we talk about the Asian American and Pacific Islander, we just club them together in one group, but it's such a vast diaspora of individuals. So why do you think how do you think we can learn and appreciate the differences between the different cultures and ethnicities? What can we do about that?
I think that attending the community events that have been designed to share each of our cultures so that we can understand each other, not just our differences, but our similarities, the love of music, the love of literature, you know, fashion and family, and religion. We all have those same shared experiences with slight differences. And I think that attending these community events, coming to the library, speaking to your neighbor across the hedge, going to some of the wonderful multicultural events that Canton Township puts on at the Village Theater, the various festivals, the open houses that the houses of worship in our community host on a regular basis. I think those are all ways, that we can come together as a community, and I would recommend that people set aside whatever fear or trepidation they might have about walking into a temple they've never been in, or speaking to someone that they've never spoken to before, and really enjoy the community.
I agree, absolutely. And I would like to add one more important part. It's food, dance, culture and food.
Yes.
So that's something that bonds everybody together. If there are samosas or there are momos or international foods, it's a great experience. It starts with a very friendly note, and you get to know the culture from the foods, like music. So, I say just have parties, have small parties, welcome your neighbors, get-togethers, and make that outreach. And I think nonprofits, other than the government, of course, has to be inclusive, and that's a given. But it's also important that individuals make an outreach effort. Try to know your neighbor. And if he's not from the same faith, if it's not from the same race or gender, it doesn't really matter. Just make that outreach, get to know your neighbor, and that will actually break down the barriers. That's an important part of a community growing in a very healthy and organic manner.
And it can be as simple as just going to a restaurant here in our community and saying, what should I eat? What do you recommend? What's in this? That can be very, very eye-opening as well.
Yeah, and continue with this discussion over the food, like in the summer months, you can hold picnics or gatherings with your neighbors, potlucks, and there's so many opportunities and so many festivals in different communities that you can go and join these community members. I think that really helps. So continue on this, celebration. So how do you think, we assign May as API Heritage Celebration Month, but how do you think the community can appreciate and celebrate the Asian American and Pacific Islander heritage during the whole year? How do you think we can do that?
Right. So as you rightly pointed out in the past, that it's not one monolithic culture when you talk of the Asian Pacific Islanders. There are various subcultures, and each subculture is rich and diverse. So when you talk of Vietnamese culture, or when you talk of Chinese or Indian or Pakistani or Bangladeshi or any of these cultures. An outreach has to be made with these communities, and we have to know what are the festivals that are important to them, when they fall, try to make an attempt. So we basically, in the month of May, it's just a gesture to start an initiative to know your neighbors and know who the API community is. But we have to live it all year round. So when it's Diwali time, go to the temple and find out what Diwali is all about. When it's Eid, visit a mosque. Just like we go to the church in Christmas and try to understand the faith better, the people better. So I think this month, it's more about making the resolution as an individual that I'll try to know my co-citizen a little better.
I'm going to plug the library. From the library standpoint, one of my favorite things to do is to, when I need a break, sit in the children's area of the library, because you see the children playing with each other. They do puppets with each other. They play with the giant light bright together. They're on the iPads, or they're sitting next to each other and they're interacting. And when that happens, no matter what their backgrounds are, you then see the parents having conversations, the grandparents and the caregivers having conversations. So to me, that's a real microcosm of Canton, is just the tremendous diversity and that serendipity of seeing people and getting to know them in the library. We also do displays all year round for all of the months. So if you come in anytime to the library, there's almost always a display of whatever the commemorative month is. It's a great way to learn about Indigenous Peoples Month, Asian American Pacific Islander, Black History Month, Women's History Month. And then we have a wonderful selection of both youth and adult materials that are produced and written by own voices. So we have, a great movie collection. It's a great way to learn culture from other nations besides, Asian countries, and then obviously authors from the diaspora that you can read. Our librarians are constantly reading reviews and purchasing materials, and they're happy to make suggestions. So I would say outside of this month, there are all kinds of opportunities to explore the history and the music and the culture and movies and just meet people.
And I think I think the library plays a very important contribution. I remember years ago I picked up a book from the library about it's a children's book, but it was written from the perspective of a Vietnamese immigrant girl, and it was in a poetry form, and my daughter loved it. And then a few months ago, I think during the Refugee Month or Refugee, we are acknowledging the refugees coming into this country. There was another book that I picked up along the same lines, and this was about the Rohingya community coming to Bangladesh. And it was again written in the same poetry format, and I felt there was so much similarity, although we talk about such a vast diaspora of the Api community. There's so many similarities, like the momos can be dumplings, and they can be samosas, can be like spring rolls. They're very similar things, especially when it comes to food and celebration. Everyone has a celebration of the New Year, so I think it's very important. As I really appreciate all the thoughts and ideas that you brought today about how people can celebrate and learn about the Api community, and it's important to shine the spotlight in May towards the Api heritage, but it's also important to celebrate during the whole year. So I really thank you for coming and enjoying this, having this lively conversation. It was great talking to you. So we will continue this conversation when Good Day Canton returns, and we will be talking to a few more speakers in the next segment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray.
Canton, it's time to get excited. Liberty Fest is back for 2022, and it's celebrating its 31st year. Yeah, we've missed a year or two, but Liberty Fest's return will be as exciting as ever.
I love Liberty Fest so much. It's like the best time of the year. I can't even explain how much I love it.
The 2022 festival will be filled with plenty of family fun, live entertainment, festival food, adult beverages, and more. These fun-filled days will feature a carnival, midway games, an international festival, plus a spectacular fireworks display. Canton's largest community celebration will continue its tradition of offering plenty of fabulous fun for all ages, so don't miss out. It'll be at Heritage Park, June 16th, 17th, and 18th. Times will vary each day. For more information about Canton's favorite event, visit CantonLibertyFest.com.
Thursday Night Live is back, and with it, tons of music, food, drinks, and fun. Running from June 30th to August 18th, bands will include R&B, country, oldies, classic rock, and more. Festivities start at 6:30 p.m. and go until 8:30 p.m. There will be cultural pre-show entertainment from 6:30 to 7 p.m. each week. Musical performances are from 7 to 8:30 and will be held at the Heritage Park Amphitheater. There will be up to 3 food options every week and a beer and wine tent sponsored by Maraschino's. 100% of the proceeds from Maraschino's will be donated to Second Chance at Life. There will be lawn games for the whole family. We encourage you to bring blankets, chairs, or both. Umbrellas will be available for rent for $1 thanks to Community Financial. It's free and all ages are welcome. For more information, call 734-394-5460 or watch for updates on facebook.com/CantonFun. Concerts are dependent on the weather.
Canton celebrates Juneteenth with Jack and Jill of America Incorporated, Ypsilanti, Michigan chapter at Liberty Fest on Saturday, June 18th from 3 to 10 p.m.
From 3 to 5 p.m. at the amphitheater stage, there'll be special presentations, guest speakers, performances by the Oak Park Marching Band, and awards emceed by Canton native WDIV's Pamela Osborne.
Continue the celebration from 5 to 7 p.m. with Motown hits, and from 8 to 10 p.m. with Detroit's own Thornetta Davis. And don't forget to browse and shop the Black-owned businesses highlighted throughout the event.
For more information, call Laura Mortier at 734-394-5376. That's 734-394-5376. See you there.
Hello and welcome back to Good Day Canton. We are continuing our discussion about Asian American and Pacific Islander or API Heritage Month. And I just wanted to introduce you to some new speakers today in the second segment. So we have Richard Mui, who is an educator, and he is the leader of the Social Studies Department at Canton High School. And we have Dr. Muzamil Ahmed, who is the chairperson of Engage Michigan. Thank you so much for joining us in this discussion about API Heritage Month. So Richard, why do you think we should be celebrating API Heritage Month?
Well, I think it's important for the community to know, and really like probably all of the U.S. to know that about the Asian American community. So it's grown. It's the fastest growing community, and I think in terms of immigration, it will continue to grow. So as we increase in numbers, and particularly here in Canton, so we're about 19% in terms of part of the community, that we need to know our neighbors, and we need to understand their background and their heritage, and maybe some of the experiences they've had as they're part of our society and part of our community now. So I think that's probably the most important part.
Muzamil, you have any?
Yeah, I agree completely. It's amazing how many Asian Americans there are in Canton, but I think what unfortunately happens is many of us live in cocoons, and so we have different parts of the Asian communities sticking with each other, and they socialize and hang out with each other, and as a result of that, sometimes people don't get out of that safe space, and even though 1 in 5 people in Canton might be Asian American, you don't see that reflected in perhaps in the police department or in other administrative areas or in the school, for example. So I think things like Asian American Month just increase awareness about Asian Americans, how many there are, their cultures, gets people comfortable with the idea of knowing who this large group of people are, and perhaps it'll be easier transition as we see them more engaged in the city.
Okay, and so how do you think your successes will help open door for the future generations? Let me start with you, Ms. Ahmed.
Yeah, no, I'm a product of Canton High School. I went to medical school nearby, and I practice now in one of my offices in Canton as a physician. Even for myself, I think, and Mr. Mui perhaps also, of having role models and mentors, people that look like you, eat the same kind of food, who speak the same languages as you, is a great inspiration. And so I hope younger people will see me and we can help them say, hey, medicine, healthcare, things like that are great options, are great thing for people to do. And I think that's one of the roles that we serve.
So Richard, you have something?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think representation is important. So that's they do have role models and that span across different professions. So they can be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, but also a teacher, also into culinary arts or a wide range of sorts. And so I think that is the important part. And there's I think a sense of comfortableness.
Yes.
So sometimes you don't have to explain your background or why you do this or that. They'll understand.
Yeah. So when we first came in, I used to be an engineer, and when we first came in, there was this expectation that, usually most children of Asian Americans are, either pursuing a medical degree or an engineer.
Yeah.
But I think our future generation, they're doing so many different things. They're getting involved in things like journalism, things like even politics. So I think that's kind of opens up so many doors. So continuing on that, like as an educator, how do you think schools can provide multicultural experiences, diverse experiences to our youth?
Well, I think it's important that it gets built into the curriculum. I know that Illinois and New Jersey have mandated that as part of their state curriculum, that more Asian Americans or Asian American history and experience are included in that. In the state of Michigan, Senator Stephanie Chang has introduced a similar bill. But I think for the local schools that the students can see themselves in the curriculum. So whether it's history class or literature, that they can see their experiences, their backgrounds, reflected in the stories that they read and the work that they do, and that other students as well. So it's not just, I don't think it's just for Asian Americans, but it really should be for everyone.
So how do you think, Ms. Emil, that the diverse experiences in Canton, how do you think they contribute to the multicultural, environment in our community?
Yeah, I think that it's, everyone has different entry points into how they experience the different cultures, but I think that I think it's partly incumbent on us and to make sure that we're open, that we're inviting to people of different backgrounds, doing open houses. I think kids learning about all the different communities here is very important. We're such a heterogeneous group, right? I mean, even us three here, we're Asian American, but everything is so different in terms of what we eat, what we do, the languages we speak. Trying to find ways to get that to the students in the community is tough. I'm not sure if we do a good job, but that's one of our challenges. And I think we're always open to ideas. Beginning with the kids are good, but certainly even if people in my age and a generation or two less, we have a lot of work to do in learning about each other and how we can, work to make this place better.
Yeah, in the previous segment, we talked about how Asian American Pacific Islanders, such a vast diaspora, how do you celebrate things together? And I think the biggest conversation that we had was our festivals, even though our festivals are so different, but sometimes they're so together, we have the New Year's, and there's so many things that we can do. And I think the most important thing is food. It's just food probably unites us.
Food brings people together.
Food
definitely.
I was gonna say, I think in Canton, one of the nice things over the years has been the number of restaurants that have popped up. So you can get Indian food and Korean food, Chinese food, Japanese, and such a wide range. And I think it's a monolithic term, right? AAPI. There's several communities within that, and it's typically I think it's been East Asian that has been the representative, but really the South Asian population has grown dramatically, and their stories and their experiences I think need to be told and understood as well.
Yeah. So, how do you think that, as the local government, what can we as a local government do and, helping create these diverse experiences? What can we do? Because, any community to make it a diverse community. Diversity, one of my friends says, diversity is just a demographic. Inclusion is what you do with it. So how do you think we can do that as a local government?
I think there's a number of things that could happen in terms of festivals or providing the space for the communities to come in and share their culture and their knowledge with other community, other aspects of the community. So I think that's one area. Being inclusive in terms of, again, representation in the government or even in the library. So what books they have and what resources they offer, I think is probably a great starting place.
Well, what do you?
No, I think engaging people, certainly getting them into arts and cultural programming is very important, and the Liberty Fest that we do in Canton has been a great entry point again for people to learn about the different cultures and have people come together. But I think even in things that are not even necessarily cultural, planning commissions, the youth advisory groups, things like that are important. The Leadership Canton meeting or the Leadership Canton program that we have, where we get people from the community to come in and meet the different parts of the administration and see how the city runs. I think that's a great way for people to learn about, can contribute, and everyone learn about each other. Perhaps even having a scholarship program where we identify young people in our community, say, hey, you'd be good for Leadership Canton and maybe be city council president or a state rep one day. I think these are all things that will be great ways to get people, make this place more inclusive and
I
and
think
strong.
now right now we have a lot of opportunities within the police department where we are trying to get people from our the Asian American background, so that because our community kind of would feel safe and identify with if you have an Asian American police officer or firefighter, or having even a multilingual person to talk to if you are in a crisis situation. I think that really helps out. So how do you think think we, just not the Happy Heritage Month. How do you think we celebrate this diversity? How can we do throughout the year, not just the Happy Heritage Month? What can we do about that?
I think you do it by doing it, right? So it shouldn't be relegated to just festivals per se, but that whatever is, I think, going on, whether it's an art festival or other type of community event, that it's inclusive, and that again the citizens of Canton are represented and can be seen, and it just becomes a normal part of the year. And so,
yeah, you said you had an Asian American club in the high school too.
Yeah, so
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I'm the advisor for the Asian Pacific American Club at the school. We cover all 3 high schools. We've been going since 1996, actually.
Okay.
And so yesterday, for example, at the high school, we just put on a coalition building presentation. So we looked at 4 events throughout history: the Great Boycotts, the murder of Vincent Chin, or the LA riots in 1992, and then post 9/11, like Islamophobia. We showed some clips and we had a discussion. It was well attended, and it was and just picking the brains of the students today, and they said they thought it went really well. They learned some things that they didn't know, and so I think by putting those kind of events on, we have a celebration of diversity that happens every year at the high school. That the different cultural clubs at the school have an opportunity to put on some of their dances and performances that represent their culture. And even this Saturday, we have a Michigan Pan-Asian American Conference. So we're trying to broaden that out to other high schools and connect the APIA community across the areas.
And that's some great opportunities for our youth. Yeah. And, talking about the township contributing to giving spaces, like we recently had the Eid Festival at the Independence Park. I think that's a great opportunity for people to come and celebrate with the Muslim community. And I think we have been doing that for the last couple of years now.
Yeah, we've been actually COVID was a great way for us to move things to Canton outside. And once we got a taste of being outside for some of these celebrations, said, wow, this is really neat. We have food trucks there, and it's open to the community. And I think in time, a lot of our festivals, I think, hopefully will be open and welcoming. And so I think we all have learning to do on how to navigate this changing community and how the demographic shifts will impact the types of festivals that are celebrated and holidays that are recognized in the school. And so it's just exciting. I mean, I think for a lot of us, when we came 20, 30 years ago, Asians were far and few between. And we'd see each other from the hallway and say, wow, hey, I know what you're thinking. And now it's just amazing. There's so many kids. It's like, I almost look forward to a day where you never need an Asian American Heritage Month, because throughout the year, whether you're Asian or Eastern European or Latino, or it's something that is part and parcel of who we are.
Yeah, and I think Canton Leisure Services is also doing a great job in having so many different kind of celebrations within the community to celebrate the diverse experiences. We are planning to, we did the Diwali celebration last year, and we did a Chinese New Year celebration. We again began that after COVID, and we had it in March, and I think it is a great way to bring people together and be aware of the differences and similarities in our communities. So thank you so much for participating in this discussion. I think we all agree that we should be celebrating the diversity in the community, but it is also important to shine the spotlight on the Asian American and Pacific Islander heritage in the month of May. So thank you so much, and thank you so much for everyone for listening. And this is where we end Good Day Canton for today.
This program was produced by Canton Community Productions.